All right, we're going to try this again, seeing if we can get it done because it was really windy and really loud with the music in the background, and I just don't know. Hey, we're going live. So we're going to try this again and seeing if I'm live on YouTube. All right, now. Try this again. I'm live on YouTube. There we go. All right, folks. I think we're good. I think we're good. We're gonna be able to do this. Hopefully, they lowered the music where it isn't obnoxiously loud here. Um, got a weekly update. We're doing a lot of things um, on our business, personally, the growth. Like you know, I lost one technician. I was hiring in November, and I decided to wait and give him more money and see how he does to handle more responsibility. And then the tech decided he was going to leave Miami altogether um, and start up in Texas, working for a large brand outside of pest control. For those of you that haven't been following me and know the story, but it turns out, you can't keep people no matter how much you pay them. He's en route to make already 64,000 this year. It isn't enough for Miami to live here and be able to buy a house when you need, a $50,000-$60,000 down payment to be able to afford to buy a house. And you can probably do somewhere else better with a lot less income. And 3-4 year tech now. He's a level 3 tech. The only thing he hasn't learned to do was termite. And I'm going to teach him how to do termite this year. And we're getting our termite certification. Let me make sure I turn on the chat in case you guys want to chat with me. By the way, if you want to chat, I'm here on the chat live. I'll probably be able to see it also on Facebook. And follow us at the Academy. If you go to pestgeekpodcast.com, we've got free courses, by the way, for technicians that you're hiring and you need an introductory course to pest control where they understand what the SDS is, what the label is. They understand what pest control really entails. They understand PPE. They understand safety. Those are all the things that we're teaching at the Academy right now. We've got a roach control course, which is our program of how we do it. And, we got the SEO course that a lot of people are taking because they want to do their own SEO. They're tired of getting ripped off by companies who promise they're going to rank them and they don't. And at least they're equipped to be able to handle dealing with an agency if they decide to hire an agency. So a lot of things that we're doing that I've been trying to do for a couple of years, we're finally getting it done. Join these live podcasts. It's a little bit easier for me to do a live whenever I'm available. Passenger Princess is getting her nails done today. She gets it done every 2 weeks. And I take the opportunity to bring her, spend some time with her, and then do this while she's doing her nails. And then I guess we'll go eat and hang out and do a lot of things. I'm going to go ahead and light a cigar. I've got a New World by AJ Fernandez. Never tried this one before. So I'm going to light this up and see what we do. And like I said, I got a lot of things that I want to talk about. Oh, this is going to be, let's see here. Here we go. This is not a great torch, but this is what the cigar shop has that I'm at right now. I'm outside because if people go in there and they want to relax and do whatever, they got this music going, which is kind of obnoxious because it's supposed to be ambient music outside the shopping center, but it's kind of blaring a lot of the time. So I think we toasted this. I'm having a Starbucks ice coffee It's so hot out here. The ice melted already, but it's been better. It's been better. The temperature hasn't been as bad. We're still having a lot of drought. We're going to go into a drought season. But covering things that have been happening, I'm training a technician now part-time for a south route, and then I just had a technician who I'm hiring to do lawns and our North Broward route for a level 2 tech to train. Just did a ride along with one of my technicians, the only technician, and for him to train him, and basically, but the ride-alongs are intended for them to know. Basically, I send them on the worst day, like it's super busy. They're going to be out there late. They're going to be all over God's creation. It's a very complex day because they had roach service to do, clean out, initial services, callbacks, lawns. So they get to see the worst day. And I don't want to tend the technician on the easiest day, on the lightest day. I want to send them on the worst day. If he can handle that, and he doesn't walk away and saying, no, this isn't for me. The guy did complain a little bit, and we're dealing with that. I mean, I'm listening to the complaints, the concerns that he has. What do? I basically go through a process of hiring where I put out the Indeed ad. Then after that, I send them to get the preliminary, I think 5-question or 3-question Indeed. I watch that video. I see what they look like, how their communication skills are. I get to see a lot of things in those videos that determine if I even want to interview this person. Called the person back, and I said, yeah, and then basically I got to go through the whole hiring process to put them on a truck, to get them to go out in the field for a day, pay them, but they have to be technically an employee because there's a lot of liabilities in that. So I basically hire them contingent upon that one day and them passing a background check. And then I start running the background check, which takes about, in this case, they're very quick with who I'm using. I'm using Gusto. They have another company that's called Check Something. And I basically go to Gusto where I do my payroll, and fantastic company. I'd highly recommend them. No, I don't have a discount code or a sign-in code or anything because I don't get anything from this. And then they do the background check, 50 state background check, pedophile list, county, state also, and driver's license, and that's what they verify to make sure that they're kosher. That doesn't tell me if the person is a good person. It just tells me they don't have any criminal background, which is what I'm interested in. Then I send them on a day with a tech, usually on a really rough day, so they get to see everything. Then I send them the employee manual. I send them the employee manual with the employee packet that has the job description, everything in there. And then I said, look, let's schedule a one-on-one, face-to-face meeting on Monday, so we can have lunch or breakfast and go over any concerns you have, questions, but I already had about 2-hour conversations with this tech. So there's a lot of communication, a lot of questions he asked, but I'm not getting ready to sit down, meet people if they're not serious. I mean, I'm serious about hiring them. I gave them the proposal, gave them what we're going to pay, guaranteed salary every week that he requested. He wanted a minimum. I gave him that. And I said, I'm already training the other. He already went through my academy, through the Introduction to Pest Control course. I said, if you're interested and you're serious about this, take that course. It's free. It's going to take about 6 hours for you to do it. And Cuban happy birthday. It's happy birthday to you. I don't know who they're singing happy birthday to in a shopping center, but they tend to blare this, and it's kind of obnoxious because it's supposed to be ambient music, and but this is Hispanic. You know, everything is a little extra, over the top, extra spicy. This is obnoxious, man. Even for me as a Cuban, this is obnoxious. Look at how loud I am, you know. And I'm loud. I've been known to be very loud. Thank God. So, you know, this is the process we go to. Providing, I hope you guys can hear me. This is kind of obnoxious. I might end it, I don't know. I don't know why the regular music is low, but the Mexican music has to be really loud. And unfortunately, if you're my Mexican brother, I love you, but I can't stand banda. That's what it sounds like to me. I know that salsa probably sounds the same way to you, but it drives me nuts. I can't stand reggaeton. I can't stand bachata, so there's a lot of music I just can't stand. A lot of hip-hop I can't stand. There, they lowered it. It's a little bit like there's probably somebody up there in corporate office that can't hear it from their corporate office. But, so now we're in that process. So the other guy's already been in training for 3 weeks. I'm going to get ready to let him loose, hopefully, starting on the 4th or the 5th, because he's part-time, he's working 3 days a week. And the reason it's good because he's got 2 other jobs. Really hungry person. Really good. And one of the things that I cannot, or that I don't want in an employee, things that I don't want in an employee, and those are the things that I can't teach. In other words, what do I want in them and what do I don't want? I don't want the pest control training. I don't want the pest control skills, because that I can teach. What I do want is the things I can't teach. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a set of skills. When you think of a qualified employee, most people are thinking, well, I want an experienced technician with pest control knowledge and this and that qualifies as experience for them. That qualifies as skills. The skills you really want and the skills I look for, based on 30 plus years of being a manager and learning to hire really in the last 6 years, are the things that I cannot teach. I can't teach discipline. I can't teach honesty. I can't teach respect. I can't teach self-esteem. I can't teach reliability. You know, the things that I can't teach of how to be on time. Can't teach creativity. You can't teach positivity. You can't teach leadership. You can't teach flexibility. You can't teach initiative. Those are the things I'm looking for. Now, how do you know you got them? Well, you can take a lot of employee assessments, and that will give you part of the picture. But the only way you really know, you do your due process. You did the background check. You did the pre-screening. You did the conversations. They're trying to be on their best behavior. They're trying to impress you. They're talking usually a lot more than they should, trying to impress you, because what I find in all these assessments with dealing with most people that I talk to, there's a lot of low self-esteem. And when people have low self-esteem, they overcompensate with talking about it, and they also compensate by being impulsive. And it's that impulsiveness that they construed as initiative. But because they're insecure, they just tend to lunge. And that's very dangerous when we're dealing with pest control, because we can't have people. One thing is to take initiative on something you know to do or you should do, like you see something on the floor in a customer's yard and you pick it up before you spray their yard. That's initiative. Deciding they're going to switch to chemicals that I never approved, put a chemical on a truck, go buy it, on order on Amazon and apply it to customers because they saw a video on it, is a no-no. That's not initiative. That's pretty reckless. So those are things that, you know, we're looking for. You know, communication skills are so poor. Not only the communication skill and the ability to talk to people, but just in the way that we have the cancel culture where if I don't like talking to you right now, I'm just going to ignore your text, ignore the conversation, not show up to work and quit and not even call you or tell you, hey, I'm quitting because of this, that, and the other. I mean, so we're looking for things, a lot of confidence. People can't do pest control if they have low self-esteem and low confidence because customers will railroad you. You basically will fold every time, do what you're not supposed to do to try to satisfy the customer because you're usually a yes person. That's what I find a lot in people who are yes people thinking that they're being accommodating, but I'm really looking for people who understand rules, understand that we are governed by laws, that we have to follow the rules, but at the end of the day, have their own persona, their own personality. They know who they are. And that is very hard to find in people these days because people that still in their 20s and 30s have no idea who they are. They have no idea what career path they're pursuing. They have no idea yet they don't even know what it's like to live alone, on their own, in their 30s. So we have a big problem in America where I agree there's the economy, makes it harder for us to hire. The governmental changes make it harder for us to hire. I agree. They don't make it impossible, it just makes it harder. People under 4 employees, I have a thread going about benefits and what benefits. We basically can offer no benefits when you're under 4 employees, 5, under $1 million. You have very little benefits you can offer. You can barely afford insurance for yourself when your insurance is $1,200 a month for personal insurance. So a lot of things people want, they want 59% of businesses out there are us, under 5 employees. 59% don't have any health insurance, any of this, any of that. Employees want this, but they also want high salaries. And I had this conversation with an interview. I says, here's the reality that, salaries, compensation on, you want health insurance, you want paid vacation, you want 2 weeks paid vacation, you want 12 days of PTO, you want a retirement plan, 401k. Your wife is going to have a baby and you want paternity leave, in the case of guys. I want 12 weeks paternity leave. These are things that a small business like mine, who is under 4 employees, cannot afford. I can't have a guy that says, I want to take time off. I can give you a week. I can give you 5 days. I can give you early days off. I can lighten the load. I can take a little bit on as an owner so that you can have time with your kid while your wife is giving birth. I can do all that. I just can't give you 12 weeks for you to have maternity leave. I can maybe pay you 2 weeks, and then the rest you're going to have to take. But isn't that the law? It says, no, it's not under 50 employees. I don't have to provide that. There's the things that I don't have to provide that I wish I could provide because they're the right thing to do. And there's a difference between the things that I want to do that are the right thing to do and having the ability to do them, having the resources, having the money to back it up. So people under 5 employees, so people want the corporate lifestyle, but they don't have the corporate skills. They don't fit in corporate America. They don't have the communication skills. They don't have any of those things that I just enumerated, 20 things that good employees need to make it in corporate America, to make that $50,000 a year, sitting behind a desk and not being out in the field, in the sun, not living the dirty jobs life. If you don't go to college and get those skills, and I'm not anti-education. I'm pro-education. I'm pro-training. I'm pro-knowledge. I'm pro-improving your skills. I'm being the best that you can. I just don't think that a college degree is that path for everybody. If you can go be an electrician, you can go be a plumber, and you can make $100,000 a year being a plumber. You can make $100,000 a year being a pest control guy with no degree. The average guy has a high school diploma. Over 50% just have a high school diploma. Over 50% of the people that we hire right now are between the ages of 25 and 35. That's the majority. So it isn't impossible to hire. It's not easy by any means, but the tools are now more available. I have the same tools that corporate America has to hire. Drug testing. Send the guy to drug test. There's an enormous cost in hiring. People are like, but I can't afford all that. Then you can't afford to hire. You got to answer that question. People say, I can't afford $60, $70 for every employee I'm going to background check. Like, I've paid this guy now for 3 weeks to train. He seems like he wants to stay. The other guy, I paid him for that entire day. That was a 12-hour day, by the way. From the time he had to drive to where my tech was, which was almost an hour away, in traffic in the morning, by the time they finished that night and he got home, it wasn't almost till 9 o'clock. That's not the typical day, but you will have that day. And I got to know that in that day, wifey is going to be okay with that. That you're not going to be like, okay, I have to work until 6 tonight. I got to work till 7 tonight. But the rest of the week, you got off at 3 and 4. So that one day in 4 months, I might need you to work a Saturday. That if it rains all week, you're going to have to work longer hours on the days that you do work because you didn't work. And I paid you and I guaranteed you a salary for that reason because I know what it's like. I know you're going to hurt if I put you on production only because 1 week you'll make 600 when it rains and then the next week you're making 1900. Most wives cannot handle that of employees. Most employees cannot handle that up and down. They need a stable paycheck. Wife needs a stable paycheck. Those are realities. You're not hiring one person, you're hiring his wife too, because she's going to say, well, you're home every day at 7 o'clock and this and that and the other. My tech could start earlier. He could start at 7 o'clock. He could start at 8. He chooses to start at 9:30 because he has to take his wife to work. They only have one car. And that's why working for me is so flexible. Because I really don't care what time you come in, and I don't care what time you leave, because in the summer, you can work till 7:30 at night. He chooses to come in at 9:30 in the morning and start working and be done, but most days, he's done by 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. A couple of days a week, he's going to work till 7. He's okay with that. And I need people that, I need what we need most, guys, gals, in our type of business is we need people that are extremely flexible. And what I find is people become very rigid. I got to be off every day by 4. Okay, why? Because, well, I need to pick up my kid by 5:30. And by the time I get home and I go and I pick him up because my wife can't pick him up. Okay, I understand. Okay, let's start at 8 in the morning, build a route so that you work your way up and spread it out. But understand that if I got to cut your route to accommodate your schedule, that you want to start at 9 and you want to be done by 4, you want to start at 8, be done by 4, that you can't tell me you want to make so much more money when you only want to work 40 hours. Because the reality is, in the years that I was an executive, that I was a manager, that I was an assistant manager, that I was in sales, in order for me to make the money, I had to work 50 hours, 55. People don't want that. I understand that. Us Gen Xers probably set a really bad example for them in the fact that they never saw us, most parents, because both parents were working, latchkey children. Latchkey, is that the right term? Yeah. Where you carry a key on you, you got home by yourself. I was that kid at 7. My bus dropped me off at my house, and I went in, I had a key, and I stayed in my apartment until my mom got home around 5 or 6. I got home around 3 o'clock. And I started doing that when I was about 7. We had an enormous amount of responsibility that we never gave to our kids, that most kids didn't have growing up. And therefore, they don't understand this, and they resent that. Their ideal is, I want to work 4 days a week, I want to work 30 hours a week, but I want to make $24 an hour. It's not reality. And I got to bring people down to earth, so I got to have that hard conversation right up front. I said, if you're expecting to make $50,000 a year, which is what I'm like $48,000 that I'm starting out to pay you, then understand that you're going to have to be extremely flexible. You can't take days off. I can't give you a day off every week where you're sick. At the moment you start doing that, and I have this hard conversation, the moment I see you start doing that, they start complaining about having to get home early every day, not willing to work a weekend when I need you, which I don't ask for, because my policy is Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, and anywhere in there between 8 and 6 you can get your service done, and I don't care. But I don't want you working weekends. I don't want my people working weekends. I work weekends. I was working this morning until noon. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up at 4 o'clock 3 times this week and started working, and I didn't go to bed till 10 o'clock. So what I expect from my people isn't what I expect for myself. I have greater responsibilities. The burden that's on my shoulder, they will never carry. I don't expect them to. I don't even try to explain it anymore, because I don't think they care, and I don't think, they don't understand it, So the burden that we carry, the issues that we are doing, most people don't understand it. 96% of America, I would say 89% of America has no clue what it's like to be an owner, although they have an opinion of it. Because only 6 to 11% of people in America own business, depending on what state you're in, what region, what county, and by that it fluctuates between that 6 and 11%. Meaning that 94% of people will never own a business, even though 60-something, 70% say they want to. So those are the things that we've been going through this week, and I've been dealing with in hiring and investing. All the money I put in for the last 4 months on SEO is starting to pay off really handsomely. I've got the web developer in Venezuela. I'm also looking at hiring a call person over that speaks English and Spanish to be an admin for me, and handle a lot of the calls, handle a lot of the things, but they speak both English and Spanish, which I need here in Miami. Understand that I have to build a business around me, my needs. I'm having the conversation with Ermi last night. I said, I really can't delegate entire positions. I have to delegate tasks. And I might have to find 5, 6, 7 people that I manage, just like McDonald's manages part-timers, because we can't afford to hire everybody, and I have to hire them in Venezuela, where they're very educated. They have really good Spanish. They speak English, although not too great, but they speak English, which is good. People are used to that in Miami. They don't care. It doesn't affect us. A lot of the things that you are going to get upset about, it's part of our culture, and we have to embrace it, and it's part of being inclusive here, because 65% of my market is Hispanic. So understand that I build a business around what our needs are. And Eric is now taking on more and more of the SEO role, knowing a lot more of what I do on a daily basis with SEO, taking on that. I'm trying to dump off tasks a little bit at a time on people and delegate it, and hire more, but it's not easy. It's by no means. So, those are things that we've been dealing with here in the last couple of days. I'm trying to looking at some notes that I wrote, because I didn't want to forget to talk about these things. If you're planning to buy a truck, by the way, let's get into a little bit of that business growth. Hey, you need to plan out about 6 months. Why? Because if you're wanting to get a truck, you might not find one. You end up having to use a used truck. But if you're wanting a new truck, you need to plan out about 6 months ahead that you're going to make an order on a truck. It might take 3 months to get there, and then you want to put a camper on it. That's 12 weeks, easy. 3 months to get a topper just delivered. So when you're trying to find a used one, you're not going to find one. That's like trying to find a $16 an hour employee that with a 25 years of experience. You're not going to find it. You need to plan it out really good. You need to think right now for everything you want to do, hiring employees, everything, that you're going to need about 6 months. And you're going to need to put out money for 5-6 months on ordering things and buying and getting them in a little bit at a time, because it's still a big problem. Um, you know, those are the things that I'm finding. I was having a conversation. If you follow me, I'm gonna read this to you. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up, because I was having I put a post out. I put a post out on my Facebook page. Let me try to find it real quick. About, you know, this issue about having benefits. And Bill Martin, who we're friends on Facebook, I actually never met the guy, you know, made this comment about that post. And I'm going to enter into this because I see that, Bill, I understand your point. Believe me, I understand it. You're living in the People's Republic of Massachusetts. I'm a registered Republican. I'm conservative on some issues. On a lot of social issues regarding poverty and things. I tend to be kind of middle ground on that, putting most of the responsibility on people. On a lot of the liberal agenda, I'm far right on that. I just will never agree with what's happening. So I get it, brother. I'm not picking on you, but I want you to see something, and I want you to hear me, because a lot of people have this mentality. He says, but can they do the job correctly? That's the issue. If not, what's the point? And so I answered back. I said, you know, Bill, the reality is that it's your job as a manager and owner to make sure that you train them correctly, to do the job correctly, and that you determine if they're doing the job correctly. And when you determine they're not, you have to live with the decision. Whatever decision you make, you got to live with it. If you choose to keep them because you're afraid of hiring and you're afraid of going through the whole process again, and you think it's cheaper to keep him or her, then you got to live with that decision of not getting your ideal employee. Shortcomings and all. If you decide to fire them because you can't live with that, it's a violation of law, it's a violation of protocol, it's a violation of things that are going to get your brand in trouble, and you can't live with that. He mentions taking shortcuts. We know where all the shortcuts are. And people will take shortcuts. If that's the case, then you need to fire them, and now you need to start all over. And what a lot of people do not want to do is exactly that. They don't want to tell somebody you're fired because you can't do the job, and then have to start all over and hire the person. So Bill responds to me after all that is says, yeah, but let me go here, previous response. And I want you to see this. And again, Bill, I'm not picking on you, but you did respond on my page. So this is public. This is not a private conversation, which I don't divulge these private conversations. But they hold responsibility to what they agree to. Yes. The problem is when people are getting hired, they agree to a lot of things when they need a job. And you said, I need a guy with 5 years of experience, and he says, well, I know IPM, and I know how to do this, and I know how to do that, and I know how to all do this. And then when you put him out in the field, he doesn't have that list of 20 things that you need, the integrity part, he doesn't have it, but you can't test for integrity. You can ask diagnostic questions in the interview process to determine if that person has integrity, but until you actually put them to the test, you don't know. It's a crapshoot. So, but the whole responsibility for what they agree, not doing your job to the best of your ability, is theft. Well, yeah, so I can see where you're coming from, Bill, where you have high moral standards. I have high moral standards. I have high ethical standards. And I hold my people high on those standards of things that are not negotiable. Lying is not negotiable. Stealing. I fired an employee for stealing hours. He lied on the report, and he didn't realize that the phone has a GPS, the app has a GPS, tracked him home, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he was home while he was still on the clock, and he clocks out at 6 every day. So I brought him in and I fired him. That's part of our job. And then I had to go find somebody else. But I fired him on the spot because I will not be held captive by anybody. I spent most of my career as an employee. This is Bill talking. I spent most of my career as an employee. We know what we know. We know what corners are being cut. And not self-pride and professionalism is what should drive people. The money benefit follows that. Yes. The problem is that you do not know if the person is professional until you hire them. You do not know any of this. So when you put out a job for $25 an hour to start in Massachusetts, I'm sure that doesn't buy you a shoelace. It's very expensive to live there. And you're paying $25 an hour, which is probably considered minimum wage over there. You're going to get everyone to apply. And people will agree to anything, and they think. I just had, I was to Dennis, we did a podcast not too long ago where Dennis and I have been talking about, and I brought up the subject of a technical trainer, a technical director, a service manager, and he hired a service manager from a large brand. And within a week, the service manager was like, but bro, I never had to do any of this at my company that you're asking me to do. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't manage to that level. They didn't require him to inspect vehicles. They didn't to have ride-ons with their techs every week and train the techs and correct them on things that they're doing wrong. That's the job of a manager. That's the job I have to do. If you're not willing to do that, then you cannot hire, because the problem that you have, Bill, with a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is your case, I'm just saying I see it, and I'm calling this, is that you have an ideal that's up here. And this is your ideal because this is who you are. This is how you carried yourself. Then answer the question, why did you start up your own company? Because you could have been probably an AIB tech making $70,000, $100,000 a year. You're never going to find that ideal person just like you. What you can't compromise is on the integrity things. I get it. So the money follows. Yes, the money and benefits follow. But you are the one as the boss that determines, okay, if that employee is up to par or not. And then you got to ask yourself, am I being too idealistic, where I'm expecting him to do too much that the person can't do, or that I just make a bad hire? Either way, you got to take responsibility for that. Because you hired them, you have to fire them. That's your decision to make, and that's a gut-wrenching decision that most people do not want to make. And then do it again. It's kind of like going on dating right now, where there's a ton of crap out there when you're dating. A lot of crazies. And you got your list of things that you will not compromise on, and when that person doesn't see eye, that's our last date. We don't have to do this anymore. So the deal is, then Bill goes into the whole how Massachusetts government is and all this. I get it. It's a liberal mindset, and it's a hand-out to everybody. It says if people get food stamps in mass, health, and other things for not working or working very little, why work? Here's what you got to understand, Bill. From the bottom of my heart, I'm trying, because you can't change it. So my thing is, why don't you move from Massachusetts to a more conservative state? Why don't you leave the state? If you can't stand living in that political climate. Second is, you can't change it. So what you're saying is that because it's a liberal state, because it has so many handouts, because nobody wants to work because of all this, the question is, those people that are on welfare, that insist on being on welfare, and by the way, you're talking to a person that grew up on welfare. I grew up on food stamps, Social Security, disability till I was 18, because I had cancer as a kid. I grew up on Section 8 housing with $225 of SSI and $100 a month in food stamps. And when I was 14, I was 10 years old, I was already working, even though I couldn't. I would go to the store. This is a kid who had chemotherapy, would go to the store and stock shelves after school, part-time, at 10 years old. People who want to work are going to work. People who want to hustle are going to hustle. People who want the better pay are going to better themselves. A lot of people want better things. They want the cars, they want the notoriety, they want the clothes, they want the hat. You know, they want the $1,000, $2,000, the $15,000 watch. But they don't have these skills that I talked about internally to get them. And there's nothing you can do about it. The question is, what are you offering to pay? I'm going to challenge you with this question, Bill. Are you paying for the kind of person you want, or are you paying for the kind of person you can afford or willing to pay because you already have a bad disposition towards this? Because most people are in that position. Because you're saying, I'm worth X because I have these values and I have my skills. The person that has those skills are already going to make X with or without you because somebody's going to hire them. They're going to see their drive, their honesty, their integrity, their motivation, and it doesn't matter what they do in life, they're going to succeed. And the people who don't have it are still going to fail. I don't care how much training, education, public knowledge, public awareness, PBAs, whatever you do, you're never going to get those people to do what they have to do. So you're preaching to the choir, and you're borderline delusional. So unless you're going to pay that $35 an hour to bring in that caliber of a person and attract them, you're going to attract everybody that is on welfare that doesn't want to work. Because here's the other thing you got to look at, Bill. You got to believe in the law of attraction. I'm a Christian. Ask, okay, and you shall receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open unto you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who knocks, the door is open unto them. You're knocking on the wrong doors. You're asking, your attitude is nobody wants to work. Everybody's a loser. The government sucks. This is going to hell in a handbasket. And then you're wanting to attract people that are positive, that are just like you. You have to be willing to pay them, but you also have a positive attitude, because how come I can hire? How come I can find that caliber person? Yes, I got to do a lot of hiring and firing to figure it out who's going to be the right person, but I'm willing to pay that price. So your attitude alone of being negative, of nobody wants to, makes nobody want to be around you. Have you ever analyzed that? Like I said, I don't know you. I don't know you personally. I would welcome you to come on the podcast, have this conversation one-on-one with me, and talk about these issues, and I'd be more than glad to help you. Because I've been managing since I was 19, 20. Because I hustle, I have all these qualities. And managers saw it and easily nabbed me up. I would be working in a restaurant on the front counter, and customers that would be regulars would walk in, managing a Mexican restaurant in Ohio. And the next door guy who owned a cigar shop would come in and says, bro, I don't know what you're doing, but I've been here and seen this restaurant. I've been here 14 years or something like that. It says, I've seen the foot traffic coming here, and it's almost doubled since you've been here. Another client who was an Allstate recruiter came in and saw me, saw what the restaurant was doing, had been coming there for a while, saw the difference, and he says, hey, I'm willing to offer you your own branch, take the training, take your own branch, and hire. Why? Because I attracted people because of my attitude. I remember being in corporate sales and negotiating $250,000 a year contracts. And then we closed the deal over a beer 2 years later, because I built the relationships. Never stop smiling is what people used to tell me. Hey, bro, Frank, never, because I always had a smile on my face. Lately years, the stress gets to you, you get older, you get a little bit more cynical. Yes, it's true. I'm not the same person I was when I was 25, which I was naive, and I was too naive to know it couldn't be done. Today, I'm more pragmatic. So, Bill, yes, it can be done. I think you need to change your attitude. I think you need to look at it differently. I think you need to say, what do I really have to pay to attract that kind of person? And what do I really have to look for? And if I don't see it, forget about it. Next. It's that simple. You know, I just started my business. There was another post. Basically, it goes like this. I just started my business. I basically was a tech. The company I worked in did not want to train me in sales and did not want to train me in office stuff. Basically, I wanted to move up. I wanted to do this. They were unwilling. They just kept me as a tech in a truck. And I don't know anything about sales, and I don't know anything about business, and I don't know anything. I just know pest control. What do you tell me that I should do? Here's my answer. Since you don't have sales experience, you don't have marketing experience, you don't have any of that, nothing happens until something is sold. You're going to run out of friends and family very quickly. What most technicians that jump off of a truck into business to being self-employed don't realize is that they're great at talking to people. They're personable. They go into the home, people love them, they build relationships. But pest control sales is very transactional in nature at the beginning of the relationship. It's, here's my price. You know, they're shopping around for price. Here's my price. Here's what I do. And if they buy, they're your customer. And if they don't, they're not. And you can do great if somebody comes and talks to you, and you can talk to them about your service and about your experience and about all this, but they got to come to you. You don't know how to prospect. You don't know how to recruit. You don't know how to recruit. See if I can get, there you go. You don't know how to recruit. You don't know how to prospect. You don't know how to market. You don't have the money when you start out. You know, so Gene Rivera, which, you know, we're friends on Facebook. He's friends with Joel. You know, he owns his own business. He said, and my advice was in the conversation, again, this is in my thread. The reason I do this in my thread is because it's a conversation and we can discuss it, and it's okay. I said, if you don't have sales experience, my opinion is take a door-to-door sales course. Immediately, you're going to reject that suggestion and say, I'm not going to do door-to-door sales. I don't like being bothered. People don't want to be bothered. You're right. People do not want to be bothered. You don't have the tenacity, the ability to be rejected 100 times a day for one yes. 99 times for one yes. You don't have that because you feel it as a personal rejection. Door-to-door is very hard. But take it from somebody who's been in sales since he was about 16. I went door-to-door selling printing. Envelopes, business cards, letterheads to businesses. And I would knock on 100 doors and they would say, no, I don't need it. And I would leave my card. And sure enough, a week later came in and says, hey, you know what? You dropped by and I saw your card. And you know what? We need some letterheads. And there it was. Take a door-to-door sales course. Why? Because all of the things you're going to learn in door-to-door sales is really about prospecting and recruiting, which is what you need most. And to overcome that fear, a lot of things, yes, you don't apply everything. It might be distasteful, some of it to you. I get it. I'm not asking you to accept all of it. I'm asking you to go into that with an open, because it's going to teach you sales training. Look, I was listening to Tom Hopkins by the time I was 18. Zig Ziglar. Tom Peters. I mean, I was listening to all the greats in sales and in business at that time. Harvey McKay. Old timers. And I would buy books on tape by that time. I've always been an Audible listener. When Audible came out, it was like heaven. I've got 300 books on Audible. And a lot of things they said to do, I would never do, because I am a consultative salesperson in nature. I am an advisor by nature. You cannot change your nature. I'm not asking you to change your nature. I'm asking you to learn some techniques that you can apply, because if you don't have the money for the advertising that it takes to be able to produce enough calls that are inbound sales so that you don't have to do outbound sales, and you don't have the time to go build relationships unless you're selling large commercial. You're selling high rises, you're selling HOAs, you're selling big money things that if you land that account, it's a $10,000 a month account, it's a $6,000, $7,000, $1,000 a month account every single month, and it produces X. What does it take for you to hire a salesperson that can produce $500,000 a year? It's $50,000 plus a car, plus about $10,000 a month in marketing to hire a salesperson that he can produce then $500,000 for you. So take a door-to-door sale. Gene says, no, I disagree. I hate door-to-door. Well, you disagree because you hate door-to-door. I get it. I never had to do it because I was a great salesperson. Got it. But see, I said, Gene, you see what I'm talking about is that you were a great salesperson. You're naturally sales. You have sales training. You understand all this, but he doesn't. He's up the creek without a paddle to do this. So take the sales course. Door-to-door sales courses are wonderful because they teach you a lot of things on how to get more business, how to close that sale, how to follow up, how to do all of this, and gives you a lot more confidence in your ability to sell. Okay? So, that was the original question that he had. And I would venture to say that probably 95% of you that are starting out are in that position. How do I know? Because this is what I see in and day out. The majority of business. Why am I talking to this all the time? Because the majority of my audience, I would venture to say about 89% of you listening to me are one-man shows or with your first tech or want to grow to one tech, two tech. But I guarantee you that the majority of you listening to me are under 4 technicians, under $500,000 a year, if you're lucky. And all I can tell you is my experience already managing and hiring and running 2 routes and having 3 employees and having subcontractors working for me on some things and hiring marketing agencies and hiring people for marketing. The only way you really know is when you hire them and you give them a shot. And that's expensive. That's what you're afraid of, because I don't have that money to throw at it. Like I decide I'm going to hire. I said, look, I don't have the money right now to hire you. You're going to have to wait about 2 weeks. My guy's leaving. He gave me 2 months notice. I want to give him time. Can you wait? If you have other opportunities, take it. I'm not going to hold you back. But if you're really interested in the job, you've taken the course. You've taken my introduction to pest control course. I've already run the background check on you. You're golden. You've been on a ride along. What concerns do you have on Monday? I've given you a guaranteed salary that you want. Rain or shine, you're going to get it. And if it doesn't work out, I invested a lot of time and a lot of money. But so what? That's the game. And if you can't afford to play the game, then don't play it. But understand, you can't ask it to be different. You can't ask it to be easier. You can't ask the universe to bend to your will on what you wish and your ideals are. It's never going to happen. A lot of you are idealistic about things without the experience, without the knowledge, without the reality. And this is typical with people who go, because I would venture to say that 90+% of you are reluctant entrepreneurs, meaning you got into your 40s and 50s and realized that you're never going to have a lot of the things that you've reached your top of your pay scale. You never went into sales. You didn't go into management because you don't have those skills and you don't have those chops. and you're a solo, but you're 45, 50, pretty soon you're going to be 55, 60. And now you got to run a route. And if you're going to spray baseboards the rest of your life, that's easy. But if you're going to have to crawl a crawl space, if you're going to have to do physical work, it's going to be harder. You see? And, you know, what is it that you're going to do? You got to pay the price. I decided 2 years ago, back in 2016, I decided I wanted to learn how to hire correctly, and I spent about $4,000 learning to do it. And just in software, in programs, in learning how to have a candidate management system and move people through the process like a real company does, and have that process. It works out. But I still had to invest 2 years of learning how to do this. And the only way I found that is by hiring and firing. Hiring and firing is your academy. Hiring and firing is your tuition. Hiring and firing is your degree. Because you can go to college, take a course on HR recruiting, and what you find is that, yeah, those guys have 10, 15, 20 years, and they're trying to transmit knowledge to you without any action. You still have to do the dirty work. This is a dirty job's life. And a lot of things that you dislike, you're going to have to swallow it, do it, if you want to grow. I want to grow. I've made a decision. I'm finally in a place in my life where I can make that decision where I don't really have to involve anybody else, and it's my decision. And sometimes that is the price. And can wifey swallow that? And I say wifey because 90+% of this industry is male. And I hate the term male dominated because there's nothing stopping a woman that works in pest control from quitting and starting up her own pest control business. There's nothing to stop her from starting her own pest control business without even having any pest control knowledge. Nothing, because you can acquire all the knowledge today. There's my podcast, there's my training academy, there's, Bug Box, there is Pest Daily. There are plenty of good people that can get you going. Paul Bello conferences. So there's no excuse. I mean, I get it. We have the guru saturated place where everybody wants to be a consultant and a guru when they don't know crap. And they're basically trying to learn with you on your dime. So who do you trust? Joe Jonovich is a guy you can trust. Paul Bello is a guy you can trust. There's people out there like me who are willing to help you. You got to invest, and you got to be willing to invest in yourself and in what you want to accomplish, because nobody's going to pay the price for you. I don't care how many posts you put on Facebook and how many answers you get. The more answers you get, the more confused you're going to be, chances are. And you got to pull the trigger, and you still got to go through the pain of doing everything. You got to go through the pain of sales. You got to go through the pain of marketing. You got to go through the pain of hiring and recruiting and firing. You got to go through the pain of the stress of growth when you get to 5 technicians. That you now need to get an admin, and when you get to 8, you need a service manager. When you get to $2 million, it's a whole nother headache. That's all part of the game. You got to play that game in your head. This is part of the game. This is the rules. This is what I have to do. There's no getting around it. I just got to bite the bullet. I got to do it. I got to execute. What you execute on, at the rate you execute, at the speed you execute, that's totally different. My speed of execution might be slower than somebody half my age. I tend to be a really good logical person that can reverse engineer, that can figure it out, but it's at a very slow pace because most people don't know. Like, I know I have a learning disability. I know that I have ADHD. I flunked second grade because I would fall asleep in class. I was in special class. Punctuation is not great. Sometimes I'm typing, I'm like, I don't see what I'm typing. Might be a little dyslexic. And yet I still figured out how to build a business. Single mom, father died at 5, cancer at 10, divorced, lost the house, lost the condo, lost everything, had to start all over again. I know what challenges are because I've been challenged my whole life. Here I am. I have a business. I have gotten my business to 15 years, which 90-something% of people don't. I have gotten my business to 4 employees before, where 90% of people don't. I get to make over 6 figures, where people don't. I get to work from home and not care if I have to go into an office. Most people can't. I have overcome all the odds, against all the odds. But if you don't have that tenacity, that determination, that dogness, my fiance says, you're stubborn as hell. I admit it, I'm stubborn as hell. But it's that same stubbornness that got me where I am, because if I would have folded and I wouldn't have been stubborn, I would have already died. I would have put a bullet in my head 20 years ago. If I didn't have that determination, if I didn't, like you're not very positive sometimes. I says, no, I'm a realist. And just because I don't agree, I'm not disagreeable. But the answer, a lot of times has to be no, because I'm wired for no now, because so many people want something of me. I got to automatically say no to everything, and then I got to think about it. If I wouldn't have done all that, I wouldn't have gotten where I am. I didn't get where I am because I'm smart. I got where I am because I have dog determination. I'm like, my ex-wife would say, once you set something in your head, you're like a bull. Nobody gets you out of it. Nobody's going to talk you out of it. Again, it's a weakness because I can be very stubborn and irritate people around me. But at the same thing, that same stubbornness is what got me where education could not, where my smarts could not, where my looks could not. That's what got me here. So when we go back and we look at an inventory of skills that we need in people and skills that you need, there really are not skills of technical skills, because that you can be easily acquired. It's the grit. That's a great book, by the way, Grit. A little bit, I don't know, but it was a good book. What makes us that are entrepreneurs. I was not a reluctant entrepreneur. I was a budding entrepreneur because I always wanted to own a business since I was like 14. Failed at it many times, started up many times, did many things that I failed at, and then I figured it out. I was in corporate America. I learned a lot of things about business. I learned about accounting. I learned about finances. I learned about P&Ls and balance sheets and cash flow statements. So now I'm getting, at 57, I'm getting our termite license. At 53. I'm going to be 54, by the way, in 3 days, in June 4th. It's my birthday. Thank you. I'm expecting cigars. Those are the things that we've been at, we're doing. Let me see, did I miss anything on my list? No, I think I got everything. And I got it in an hour. It isn't a 4-hour podcast. I miss those podcasts with people, the interaction, but I got to schedule it. I'm at a point right now where I don't feel like being tied down to anything. This is the beauty of me being able to do what I want to do. This is the reason why I get up in the morning every day, even though it's hard, even though, I know that I'm going to end up with a bunch of problems that day. What gets me up is to say, I get to do what I want to do without anybody. That's one of the things that, I have oppositional defiance disorder. I mean, I have a bunch of disorders, folks. I've been diagnosed with everything because everybody's a psychologist today. That I have oppositional defiance disorder. Yes, I'm not a yes man. And the more you tell me I got to do something, the more I'm going to buckle and say, no, I ain't doing crap, because you're not going to tell me what to do. I had a guy today who's high power customer, who has his sister who has bed bugs. He's in New York. He's going to pay for it, and I guess he's a high power guy. And I'm trying to explain the service and how we need to do it. And like, no, she's got bed bugs, and you need to do this and that. And it sends me a list of sprays they applied. I said, I don't need to know any of that. He said, well, I'm going to call you at 3 o'clock, and I'll call you later when it's convenient for me. And I said, look, my hours are this: Monday to Friday from 8 to 6, and Saturdays from 8 to 12. In between those times, you can call me. He was already trying to dominate that. There's no way in hell I'm going to let that guy dominate the conversation. This is the way we do it. This is what we're going to do. I can't give you a guarantee in an apartment. You know, it's going to cost this much. But he already was like, I'm high power, and I'm going to tell you what to do and how to do it and all this. And good luck that working with me, because I shut it down really quick. So yeah, I mean, that's the me. You know, this is the reason why I'm self-employed. Why I don't, you know, I don't take a lot of crap from a lot of people, because of the way you're wired. And you got to realize that if you're going to be in business, you're going to have to have a lot of that, because it's hard. You know, everyone wants to take advantage. You know, one of the things that I see is, one of the questions, and I'm going to leave you with this: 2 words that you got to get out of your vocabulary, because number 1, it's delusional. Number 2, it makes you a target. And then you make yourself a target to get ripped off every time, to be disillusioned. And the word that you got to get out of your vocabulary and out of your mind is, I want it easy and I want it fast. I want, what's an easy way, Frank, to hire? There is no easy way. It's like pissing glass. What is the quickest way to scale? What is the easiest way to scale? Is get leadership skills, learn marketing, learn sales, have a partner, have the support, have money to invest, and throw at it. Go live in a 1-bedroom shack, squirrel away every money, and throw it all into the business for 5 years. Learn to hire the skills, and then you'll grow your business. But that seems awfully hard. It is. That's why the majority of people never grow their business. 98, I forget about, percentage of small businesses in America are one-man shows for a reason. So when everybody's talking to you, and you're seeing the ads, and you're seeing the comments, and you're in the threads, and you're in the groups, and you see the ad for how to scale your business easily, you already know it's a scam. But why do they do it? Because 98% of people want this. They want it easy. The majority of people want it easy. They want it fast. We'll make you scale easy. Convenience. Convenience is going to trump everything. I just had a conversation where a guy says, we guarantee you that we'll produce the quality leads for you, and you don't pay until we produce the results. So I said, okay, let me find out what this is about. I had the conversation with him. I said, what's the deal? He says, well, when all is said and done, Frank, it's going to cost you $150 a lead. Most people are going to gasp at what I just said. I said, I don't have a problem paying that if you can produce me the quality lead, especially when I do termites. I understand I'm paying 150 to 250 customer acquisition right now. I don't have a problem with that. I said, send me the proposal. So when I start doing termites, I'll give you a call. We'll give it a shot. I'm still waiting for him. Why? Because I'm not an easy target. I know marketing now. I didn't really good 10 years ago. So get the moment you think it's going to be easy, and the moment you think it's going to be fast, that's the moment you're doomed. Because it's always going to cost twice as much, take twice as long as you think it is, if you don't have those experiences. If you tell me you're an operations manager at a large company, That's a whole lot different than a guy jumping off a truck. If you told me you were an outside sales rep door knocking for a large company, that's different than a guy who sits there by his phone with one of these and takes inbound calls because the company's pumping 25% into marketing of sales. And the calls are just coming in, and he's like one after the other, closing one after the other, closing one after the other. He got spoiled by that, and he thinks that's the way it is in real life when he owns a business. Except he doesn't have 25% budget to throw at it, because 25% of $10,000 a month in sales that you're making isn't crap when you're doing nothing. People throw away numbers. 10% is the ideal number. Okay, what's 10% if you're producing $2,000 a month when you're starting? How much does that get you in ad clicks? I just ran an LSA campaign to test it, and I ran it for like 24 hours. I got 3 calls at $117 each from LSA, of which all hung up. One of them called me and wanted about animals in her attic. She thinks she has a snake in her attic because she's seen pythons running around. I went back to Google and I said, listen, I only signed up for ants and roaches. This is neither. The other 3 hung up. They didn't care. They did not credit. They said, nope, we're denying the credit now. Can you swallow that? Can you swallow paying $300 and something for 3 calls that you got nothing out of it? This is Google. That's the reality, folks. So when everybody's talking to me about, I want to scale my business, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, I'm going to go with Joe Amores, and I'm going to have him on. Me and him have done a podcast together. We're going to do one live when we go to a PopCon with Joe Amores. We're going together to go get our training for and our certification for termite. Both of us have GHP and lawn. We've been friends for about 4 years. I was at his wedding. He's coming to mine now. And we're going to do a podcast together, because I remember having this conversation 3 years ago. It was like, bro, I want to grow, and I want to scale, and I want to be a $10 million company, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, right? And I said, bro, you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't have those skills. He's got the attitude. That guy is street smart as hell. He's a better salesman than I am. I admit that. He can sell, crap on a stick on a street corner. He's good. But he doesn't have the understanding of what it takes to. So he's calling me, bro, I got to create an org chart, because I read in a book that I got to create an org chart. I'm like, bro, why are you going to create an org chart? That's wonderful. How many VPs do you need, and how many service managers? And I can give you all those numbers. I know what they are. I can lay it out on an org chart, and tell you what that should look like when you're a $10 million company. What it takes to get there is something different. So he started doing it. So I look at my VPs and all my salespeople and all my service managers and my branch manager and all my techs, and everything is done, and he laid it all. It looks beautiful on paper. It says, how do you plan to execute that? I'm going to throw, I'm going to take $150,000 and I'm going to throw it into marketing in 1 year, and I will get the sales and I will start building on it. It says, great. That's doable. You're going to borrow, and he can do it because he can close the business. We're 3 years in now. He's doing about the same amount. We keep having this competition of who's going to outdo who. Just for kicks, We call each other at the end of the month. I send him my numbers. He sends me his. We're usually within a couple $100 of each other at the end of the month. We're growing, and we're both growing at a pace. He's got 1 tech. I've got 1 tech. He's doing, the same thing. And now he's going to probably have to hire another one this year, but, he's waiting because, his tech wants to make the money and he's happy. But sooner or later, you're going to hit the wall, right? We're going to have this conversation again, because I had the conversation with him. Yeah, bro, I don't want to be a $1 million company anymore. I'll play the stocks and play day trading, and I make more money than I do some days in pest control. He bought his boat, and he's happy, and he wants to go boating. He doesn't want all the headaches. He's making good money. His wife now works for him. She's his admin and person answering the phones. He said, I don't do crap all day. I'll go out once or twice a day, maybe a week, to go see a job or whatever, like I do. Except I'm the one answering all the calls. I don't have an admin yet. But I have a marketing guy, and we're doing other things. My vision is different than his. And I have way more skills on the admin side and the management side and the business development side on territories and things like that than he does, because I've already been there. But I don't want it. I want to grow at a certain pace. This is the year where I grow one more route. We're putting in the money into marketing to grow that route. We're putting it into a bigger market. But the conversation he had with me 3 years ago, where I want to scale, I want to do this. This is how I get the call every time, because they're listening to the podcasts on scaling and growing and how to do this and how to do that. And most of those companies are tech companies with a lot of startup money, with first round, angel round, second round, and they're scaling to sell. They're not scaling to keep. Most owners want to grow to keep, pass it down to their children, have a legacy. It's a totally different mindset, folks. So a lot of what you listen to, read about books, all I do is get one idea from a book usually. Oh man, I hadn't thought about it, or I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I should try doing it that way. That's what I get from books. One or two ideas. I don't get much because there's not a lot that can be done with a lot of the books, the management books, the leadership books. A lot of it comes from operating companies. All these consultants are selling books because they're selling $10,000, $100,000 a month packages to corporate America, to scaling companies. They're consultants and they're good. There's nothing wrong. They just can't help the average solopreneur overcome his mindset of being small and doing a lot of things that they don't have the skills to do, and they have to acquire those skills over time. And when you're 55 and quitting, you don't have too many years left. Just like when you're now in your 30s and you're still at home, mom and dad, you don't have a good career, you don't have a career path, you don't have anything you're really doing, you're just having a job, and you wasted a good 10 years of your life, and you're going to get into your 40s where your 30s and 40s are where you're the most productive, and you're going to be 50 because you think that you have all the time in the world. Young people, I thought once I have all the time in the world. Everybody thinks that way. The reality is you don't have all the time in the world. You got a fixed number of years that are very short to get a lot of the things you want done. So the quicker you get them done, kids, if you're in your 30s, you're like my kid. The 20s and 30s, learn sales, learn management, learn money. Learn those things very quickly, and then figure out how you sell the ideas and get people on them. I was trying to sell ideas at 18 for starting up businesses. My first business venture, I was hitting almost 20, and I was pitching this idea to start a private P.O. box shipping and packing store. We're talking 1990, 91. And I needed about $15,000 at that time to start. And I was trying to get funding. Nobody thought it was a great idea. Because I knew it because I worked for a national truck renting company who sold boxes, sold storage, sold shipping supplies, rented everything under the sun. I said, just do three things. Sell packaging supplies, rent trucks, and P.O. boxes. That's it. Don't get out of that. Today, pack and ship stores are everywhere. I was 15 with my friend. I said, let's start a mobile car wash business. We'll get a little truck and we'll start. He was a good detailer and I was a good salesman. And I said, why don't we start doing that? There wasn't a single one in Miami. I've always had vision, but with my ADHD, I was too many ideas, too many things competing. I had to settle for one. I did. I settled in pest control, but I also settled by the time I was running a pool service business, landscape business, property management business, service business, and all this. And I decided I really got to focus. And I settled for pest control, which made the most money. And I wanted to do eco-friendly, and I went through 7 years while I was doing that, learning how to do eco-friendly, learning how to do IPM, learning how to use organics and natural products and incorporate it until I came up with now what is known as holistic pest control, which includes Deanie Miller's, assessment-based, and Bobby Corrigan's biological observation. We're observational biologists, and it includes natural, and it includes botanicals, and it includes diatomaceous earth, and it includes a lot of things, but it's more flexible. I can do more, and that's what I'm teaching right now. That's what the courses I'm putting together for this. Let me see if anybody there. Anybody got questions? Anybody out there? Christian Allen, 3-hour podcast we did together. So I got, so this one, weekly update. So I just did a test. I got 26 people to sign on for like 2 minutes when I was on doing the test, because I had a bunch of keywords in there. And then I made this one simple, weekly update, and there's nobody on there. This is interesting. Now, I don't care. I mean, if I get 26 views or if I get 2,000, because I will put this out on a podcast and I will get 3,000 listens to it. I will put it on YouTube instantly. Within a couple hours, I'll have 115. But it's very interesting that I'm doing the test. This is what I talk about marketing. Well, I already done the test. I'm doing ads. I'm getting clicks. I'm learning to do the marketing part. And a lot of it is learning how to do it in the trial and error and figuring it out. Implementing best practices. What are the standard practices, but also being creative. You see, so that's what I'm learning to do now. I'm learning to run ads. I'm getting a little bit of success from it because I'm doing very low budget ads, but I'm also targeting the niche, the things nobody wants to do, the things nobody wants to talk about. The things that, look at Blue Ocean Strategy. I highly recommend 3 books that are still valid. Blue Ocean Strategy, I recommend to you guys. The book on the franchise mentality concept for growing and scaling a business, which is the E-Myth Revisited. And some of the books like Shoestring Entrepreneur and things like that. I got a bunch of books. I'm going to publish my list again. I got about 300 books, of which all of them are pretty good. I've had 2 or 3 that aren't really that good, and I've only requested in my whole time that I've been with Audible about 3 refunds. The books was horrid. Usually I get something out of some book. But yeah, so I'm looking at this now, and if I put the keywords in there, I got people that were on 25 views, but there was nothing there for a couple of hours. I was doing a test, and this was really loud with the music, and the wind was blowing, and I said, I'm not going to be able to do this podcast today. But guys, those are the things. This is where we're at. I'm going to bring you a weekly update. I'm going to be doing some training. I'm going to probably be doing some live training on SEO, on some of the things that we're changing with Google, because I have the SEO course for local SEO, GMB. I'm going to be publishing some of the results of the things we did with our case study, that he's starting to see the effects, but it took 4 months, and he doesn't have the time nor the money to throw at it, although he wants to, but he doesn't have it. So, and I'm limited right now. My SEO, I got Eric, which produced about 37 pages last week for 5 cities, 25 pages, no, 30 pages for 7 cities, 5 pages a piece, supplemental. My guy in Venezuela is laying out the sheets. He's doing the graphic design for them. Eric does the initial editing for all the titles and making sure, okay, she's about to start my feet, honey. Okay, she's about to start her feet. Great. Let me put this a little bit lower. So that's cue for about another 45 minutes before she's done. Yeah, Passenger Princess is getting her nails done, and I'm getting her car washed, and I'm doing a podcast. This is what I'm going to do every 2 weeks. It's kind of cool. I sit out here, have a cigar by myself, have a conversation with you guys, talk about everything that we challenged in the week, good, bad, and ugly, the reality, the real deal. A lot of people don't want reality. They want reality television, which is different. It's a bunch of, hype, sunshine up your tailpipe, purple unicorns and butterflies. I really miss Dirty Jobs. That was one of my favorite TV shows. I loved it. I wish more people would go watch Dirty Jobs again and get ideas to start a business. You can literally start a business from everything in the world that people find distasteful, disgusting, and nobody really wants to do and make money at it. Because most of the world, my son, he kind of jokingly and seriously telling me he wants to be a gamer. He thinks he's going to be on YouTube and be a gamer. Everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to be behind a computer, working remotely somewhere, off of the coast of Fiji, and making, $100,000 a month. That happens to about 0.0001 of the population. Everybody's selling the dream. The problem is the dream isn't real. They're getting likes and follows and selling courses and making money off of people that want it easy. I mean, I remember at one point, the reason I talk to you about it is because I'm transparent and I'm honest about who I was. But when I was 18 and 19, I was filled with all that in my head, that I wanted to make millions and I wanted to make it easy. I could have become a drug dealer in the 80s, and I would have probably ended up in jail or dead, because that was what everybody thought about was easy money. I stayed away from that, and instead I got into Amway, and then realized there's no easy money in Amway. Everything is work. There's no passive income. I mean, I remember listening to Pat Flynn about passive income. I said, okay, he teaches me a lot of things, but the reality is there's no passive income, because every week he's glued to a computer doing a new training series, doing a new podcast, selling courses. That's not passive. Passive income would be that I put money into something, and 20 years later it starts paying me back, and I don't have to do a damn thing anymore. It doesn't do that. You got to have the upkeep. People want fresh content, new content. So there really is no thing as passive income. If you own property and real estate, you can hire a property manager for 10% and say, look, handle every contract, every repair, but you still got to get involved. You still got to give approval. You still got to got the money for those repairs. It's not totally passive. The only thing that's really probably passive is if you invest in insurance and then you get the money back somehow after 20 years, but it's not instant. Day trading is such a big thing, but 99.9% of people lose their shirt. Gambling could be passive, but you still got to learn how to gamble. So there's a lot of things that people want to do, and I said get out of that mentality. The reason I plug the Paul Bello conferences is because I birds of a feather flock together, and I realize that what he teaches is solid business advice, solid business principles. It's barbecue. It's slow and low. It's not grilling, but it'll work in the long run. And here's a guy that actually was an accountant, multi-billion-dollar company, who was a technical director at Orkin, did have a multi-million-dollar lawn care business, started out by doing door-to-door sales, believe it or not. He picked up 1,000 customers over the summer by doing door-to-door. So when everybody says these guys are anti-this, you don't understand, that's how they started. I started with door-to-door, he started with door-to-door. The people who get their first customers, if you start with door-to-door, and you can do it right. I mean, Paul has integrity. You meet Paul, you say, you never think he was a door-to-door guy. It takes a lot of aggressiveness to do that. Then he got it. And that's how he started, with no money, bought the truck, and went out and started door-to-door, and he picked up 1,000 clients. That's still true today for door-to-door people. The average door-to-door guy in 1 year can pick up 600 clients. What will take you the next 10, 15 years? We're getting ready to do door-to-door. What I'm going to start doing, though, is light door-to-door. I'm trying to teach my guys that they can still do the door-to-door. They can be respectful, and they're getting paid by the hour to do door-to-door. And what they're doing is they're going to clover leaf with cards, door hangers, talk to the people, go out next door, knock on the door, talk to the neighbors, say, hey, look at the sign across the street. We actually do that property. Instead of lying to people, it says, we do people in this community when they have nobody there. And say, look, he does, he's happy. Go talk to him if you got a question. He'll tell you how good we actually are. Look at that lawn. It's the nicest lawn in the neighborhood. You can't argue with that. There are ways to do it. We're going to be doing some guerrilla marketing. Going back to guerrilla. Look, I read the whole series of guerrilla marketing. I was a guerrilla marketer. A lot of the things you can do. Well, I'm going to show you some stuff we're going to do that you're going to be blown away by. We're building out a $100,000 van. The van was $50,000, and the build out is about $50,000. But this is my dream van, and why am I doing it? Because I want to. I don't need anybody's permission. I've heard all the critique. This is what I wanted to do. So I had the money to do it, and I did it. And it's a very luxurious thing to do, to give an employee all the tools in one place that he can do all three: lawn, GHP, and termite out of one vehicle, and exclusion from one vehicle, to be able to operate. And the way I'm teaching my people is, look, you're rolling around in a $100,000 store. You're the store manager, and you're responsible for everything that happens while you're on that watch, because you are a store manager. You're not a technician. And I train them to be manager because I give them the numbers. Very few people will share numbers with their people. It says, in order for you to manage effectively, you have to know numbers. You have to know where you stand. You have to know what's expected of you. And you got to hire the right person. But I'm willing to overpay to get that, so I can get that quality of a person that I don't have to manage, that I lead. You see? But that requires patience. This is barbecue. It requires the skills. It requires the time. It requires the money. It isn't going to be instant. I'm playing the long game now. I'm in a different mindset as I was 2 years ago, when I was going through so much. My mother's death, divorce, COVID, my son. All these things took priority over me growing a business. That's a reality that's going to happen to a lot of you, that you have to deal with setbacks. You're going to have to deal with real pain in your life. I know, because I get the calls, because people listen to me and say, bro, I can relate. I'm going through this. What did you have to do to go? It says, bro, it's going to be painful. You're going to have to deal with a lot of these issues. Here's what you're going to face. Here's what's coming. Here's the grief part. And a lot of these things, what do you do when your son dies? What do you do when you lose a child, when you lose your spouse? These are real issues that nobody talks on a podcast, especially not a growth business podcast. People talk what they want others to believe. So that cost me a lot. It cost me 3 years, but I'm in a place now, mentally, emotionally, physically. I had to go through a lot of medical, because my body was, I got to see an endocrinologist now. Thyroid is acting a little weird. Sugar levels are high, more higher than usual. Keto isn't working. Testosterone levels were low. Guys, check your testosterone. Check your testosterone. I didn't have the drive I used to, and I was exhausted. And I said, what is wrong? And I kept asking, do a test, do this, test this, test this, test this. Test this. I think it could be this. The doctor thinking, you're crazy, man. There's nothing wrong with you. Just go see a psychiatrist. Funny story. I was in my chiropractor's office because I needed the adjustments because my back and everything is tight. I get a therapy once a week with a massage. I do yoga. I roll out. Whenever I'm really stressed, my knee acts up. and it's because my tendons, my muscles get so tight, it strangles my tendons and my nerves, and I got to relax them. And a lot of people are like, well, you can do this some THC. I don't want to. Thank you. I don't want to do pot. Thanks. I don't want to do coke either, for that matter. It's cigars. I'll take some coffee. Oh, my coffee fell with the wind. Dang, this wind is hard out here. So, figured out that my testosterone level was kind of like still within good range, but my free testosterone was in the toilet. And my bioavailable testosterone was in the toilet. They gave it to me, and it just, like, low dosage, and it went through the roof. I went the other extreme. And man, was I on edge, and I was like just annoyed at everything in life. I was over the top. So I went back, they did the blood work. Yeah, we had to reduce it. And turns out I got injected at very low rates 3 times a week. Because if not, I started producing too many red cells, and I had to donate blood. And then I also ended up with anemia. I messed up. You would think, how would it do that? It messes up. My body is so sensitive. So things that I was dealing with, I didn't have the drive and the energy that I used to do a lot of things. Turns out it wasn't because I didn't want to. I have the dreams, I have the goals. A lot of the times it is physiological. But you don't have the insurance, you don't have the money. How do you go see doctors? How do you go see specialists? Funny story is, I was finished the story at my chiropractor's office. And next door there's this, basically, a psychologist therapy, but it's on mindset, and changing your mindset. I said, you know what? I would probably benefit from that, and listening to somebody and talking it through and having a professional therapist. So I call the number, nobody answers. I call again, nobody answers. I send a text. Here's the text that came back. How will you be paying for this? Private insurance or self-pay? I said, self-pay. Never heard back from the guy again. It's like, what the heck? You call anybody, any business here in Miami, you don't get any call. You got to call them 3-4 times before they'll answer the phone, get back to you, or even acknowledge you. You call me, and usually I see the call and I miss it. Usually within a couple minutes you get a text from me. Hey, sorry I missed your call. I'm on the phone with another client. How can I help? Oh, I need a quote for this. Okay, send me your name, address, phone number, and email, and I'll send you the quote right away. If they send it to me, I know they're serious. And I said, what problem are you having? And then I pick up the phone and I call, because I get a lot of people just door kicking. Oh my God, your prices are ridiculous. I don't need to spend time with you. I send you my price. You looked for an eco-friendly company. You looked for an organic company. You looked for this. You wanted that. That comes at a price. You're thinking you're going to pay, bottom feeder prices because this is Miami. A lot of people live under that illusion because this is Miami. They're used to getting illegal people working. They're used to hiring people for peanuts, that everybody's going to be on that price. They're shocked when I give them my price. But they say, okay, here's my address, phone number, and email. I call them up and say, all right, tell me about your problem. What's your structure like? Do you have a pool? Do you have a septic tank? You got crawl space? What am I dealing with? And then I say, okay, I know enough about your situation. Here's your reality. Here's what you're going to have to do. I consult them because I'm a consultant salesperson. I send them the quote. And we're closing right now close to 40%. You say, but that's awfully low. Well, my prices are high. So I'm not going to close 80%. I'm not going to close 50%. Some months it's 20%. Other months it's higher. We're closing the business that way. But we stopped doing apartments. I raised my prices so hard for that if I get it, it's worth it. And if not, we're only focusing on single-family homes right now with, not one-time services, but actually people signing up. So those 20-30% that are actually signing up are signing up and they're not canceling. They're signing up for long-term, even though we have no contract, no long-term contract. But I have still the high initial. They're going to pay $350 to $450 to get that problem solved. Then it's either monthly or bi-monthly at $79 to $99 every 2 months. First year, you're going to spend $1,000. Second year, about way over $600 a year with me, and then that's not even including add-ons like mosquito, lawn, and then we're going to add termite. So we're going to have packages where we offer termite inspections, termite monitoring, when we do termite, the warranties, and all that, and bundle it into one price. And if you cancel, well, you just lost your insurance warranty. That's your business. Me and Joel are talking about that. We're discussing with other guys here in Florida because it is about local business. I don't discuss this on a group of what everybody's doing in Massachusetts. It doesn't apply to me. By the way, if you know of somebody who air conditioning guys, plumbing guys, anybody who does home service businesses, that I started a home service network locally so that we can share leads and with each other and network and learn about business. And if you're a solopreneur, we can help each other locally. I'm going to have some local meetings coming up, probably every 3 months. I'm not committing to a whole lot of things right now because I just can't. I say I'm going to do a podcast on Wednesday morning, and the crap hits the fan, and I got to leave, and I can't do it because we're growing. It's just more intense for me right now than it usually is. But now I have the energy. I've got the drive again. I've got the clarity of mind. I have a lot of support at home. My kids are a little bit older. They don't need me on a daily basis on a lot of things. Like when they're little, they're 2-year-olds. So yeah, man. So that's pretty much the week in review for me. I'll be bringing you stories and things that are happening. Gonna start doing some of the training that I used to do, but it's just hard for me to sit behind a computer with PowerPoints and design PowerPoints and design all this stuff to talk about when I don't have the time. This is a lot more practical for me. Feel free to call me and ask me questions, message me. Dang, the wind is so bad out here. My coffee spilled. Well, I only have a little bit left. I only have a little bit of my cigar. Passenger Princess is getting her feet done. So I think I'm going to sign off. And until the next maybe week or 2 weeks, I'm doing some live in the field. I started doing some lives on real situations that I'm facing in the field while I'm doing it. Hope you guys get something out of that. If I come across as not for you because I'm too extra for you, just know it's my Cuban, Miami thing. It's my personality. The first time I met Paul Bello at a conference, I was like, like he's very New York, very Brooklyn, very FU. You don't like it, but the guy's got a great heart. So we do the best that we can, but we have great hearts. We want the best for people, but we got to tell people the truth. And I think that as I grow and as you can see me grow and see the numbers and see the reality, that what we're doing, that you say, yeah, it works. And I realize this is what I have to do. So long ashes to you, folks. This is Frank the Pest Geek wishing you a pestacular day.